My name is Bonnie Hayes. I'm 26 years old, and the defining moment of my life wasn't graduating from Harvard. It was the day my own parents orchestrated a heist, and the thing they stole wasn't a possession. It was the man I loved, meticulously repackaged as my sister's husband. It sounds like a lurid headline, I know, but for me it was a surgical strike on my heart, a wound that even now years later has only scarred over, never truly healed. I used to believe that a sharp mind and a full heart were the ultimate armor. I was wrong. Both were systematically dismantled by the people I called family. I didn't scream. I didn't unleash a torrent of cruel words. On my sister's wedding day, I simply stood, smiled the perfect, vacant smile I'd been taught, and made a silent vow. One day, I would stand so high they would have to crane their necks to see the shadow of the girl they betrayed. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by someone so close that the world itself seemed to tilt on its axis, leaving you unsure of which way was up? Where are you listening from right now? Tell me your story. I truly love to know. I was raised in a beautiful cage, a picture-perfect home in the western suburbs of Boston, where the lawns were emerald and the white picket fences gleamed. But behind our cheerful blue door, a different reality thrived. My mother, Margot, was a social architect. Her favorite mantra, delivered with a chilling smile, was, "We have to make them jealous, Bonnie. That's how you survive." My father, Robert, was a ghost in his own home, his silence more deafening than any argument. And my sister, Bella? She was my mother's masterpiece. Beautiful, pliable, designed for admiration. I was the problem child, the one with grease on her hands from taking apart radios, my head filled with algorithms instead of etiquette. A girl who gets her hands dirty won't find a husband. My mother would sigh, her words soft as silk, sharp as a scalpel. When I got into Harvard, I saw it as my escape pod. The day I left, my mother's final words were, "Don't do anything that will embarrass us, Bonnie." I didn't cry. I didn't look back. As the taxi turned the corner, I watched that blue house shrink in the distance. It was a monument to a perfection that was slowly suffocating me. I didn't know then that my escape was merely the prelude to a much deeper entrapment. Harvard was a different universe. For the first time, my mind was a currency, not a liability. I became the coder who never sleeps, and I wore the title like a badge of honor. And then I met David Clark. He was a graduate student at the business school, the scion of a hotel empire, but unlike anyone I'd ever met. He spoke about building digital education for the underprivileged with a fire that wasn't for show. When I questioned his algorithm during a presentation, he didn't dismiss me. He sought me out. "Bonnie Hayes," he said, finding me after the talk, "you're the one who made me rethink my entire presentation." Our connection was immediate, an unspoken understanding between two people who saw the world as a system to be improved. We built a project together, Open Mind, a platform to democratize education. Late nights blurred into early mornings, fueled by coffee and a shared vision. On a bridge over the frozen Charles River with snow dusting his shoulders, he told me, "When we graduate, I want to build this with you. For real." I believed him. I believed in him. That was my first and most catastrophic miscalculation. The trap was sprung that summer when I brought him home. I should have recognized the signs. The way my mother's eyes, cold and appraising, scanned him from head to toe, calculating his net worth down to the last decimal. The way my father nodded, a silent approval of his pedigree. The way Bella, in a silk dress that seemed painted on, leaned into his space with a practiced, dazzling smile. Dinner was an inquisition disguised as conversation. "Your family owns the Clark hospitality chain," my mother stated, sipping her wine. "But you want to build your own thing. Admirable. But a man still needs a solid foundation." Her eyes flickered from me to Bella. A single deliberate glance. The message was clear. In her ledger, Bella was the asset. I was the liability. Later, my mother insisted Bella show David the garden. "The roses are in bloom." I moved to join them, but a hand light as a bird but firm as steel landed on my arm. "Help me clear the table, dear," my mother murmured. "Men prefer women who know how to care, not women who compete to be heard." I stood in the kitchen, listening to the faint melodic sound of Bella's laughter drifting from the garden, a chill seeping into my bones. The silence began after that. The delayed replies, the canceled dates, always with a perfectly reasonable excuse. A policy draft. A family meeting. The David I knew was being slowly erased, replaced by a polite, distant stranger. The call came from my mother, her voice dripping with false concern. "You should come home, Bonnie. There's something you need to see." I knew. Some deep, primal part of me already knew what was waiting behind that blue door. I found them in the rose garden, just as my mother had intended. David and Bella hand in hand. Not a casual touch but a fused, practiced grip. The world didn't shatter. It simply went mute. David stepped forward, his face a mask of pained regret. "Bonnie, let me explain." I raised a hand, my voice terrifyingly calm. "Don't. I want to hear it from her." Bella's eyes glistened with performative tears. "Bonnie, I never meant to hurt you. But sometimes, people who are meant to be together find each other just a little late." They were my mother's words, coming from my sister's mouth. And then my mother was there, her hand on my shoulder, her jasmine perfume cloying. "Don't blame them, dear," she cooed. "They were meant for each other." I looked at David, at the shame in his eyes, and I saw the truth. He wasn't a victim. He was a choice. A comfortable, convenient choice. The path of least resistance paved by my family. "Congratulations," I said, my voice steady as stone. "You two are a perfect match." I turned and walked away. My mother's final command followed me out into the rain that had just begun to fall. "Don't make a scene, Bonnie. A woman should learn to accept things." I stepped off the porch, the cold rain washing the scent of jasmine and roses from my skin. I didn't look back. The girl who believed in love and logic died in that garden. What walked away was something harder, sharper, and infinitely more dangerous. I fled to Seattle, a ghost in a rain-soaked city. I took a job in a quiet cafe, licking my wounds in the rhythmic hiss of the espresso machine. My boss, Martha, a woman who saw through everything, once told me, "You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Just remember they can't steal your mind." It was the spark I needed. In the dead of night, I began to rewrite the code for open mind, purging it of his memory, rebuilding it in my own image. This wasn't for him or for Harvard or for revenge. It was for me. I named my new project Skilltree. And in the quiet, unassuming chaos of a startup, I found an unlikely ally. Jack Monroe, a brilliant, hoodie-clad visionary who saw my talent not as a threat, but as a gift. He didn't try to save me. He gave me the space and the tools to save myself. Slowly, Skilltree grew from a line of code into a movement, an edtech empire that changed millions of lives. I was no longer Bonnie Hayes, the betrayed. I was Bonnie Hayes, the CEO, the one who made the cover of Forbes. And while I was building my future, my family was watching theirs crumble. Their precious hotel chain, the foundation of their solid future, collapsed under the weight of their own greed and mismanagement. The headlines were brutal. They came to me, finally, in my glass-walled office overlooking a city I now ruled. They were shadows of their former selves, diminished, desperate. "Bonnie, you've changed so much," my mother began, her voice trembling. "Your sister. She needs help. We've lost everything." I let the silence hang in the air, a luxury I could now afford. I was no longer the girl pleading for a seat at their table. I was the one who owned the building. "If you want to talk," I said, my voice cool and even, "you can come to my office tomorrow. Not because we're family, but because I believe every debt deserves to be closed properly." The next day, in my sun-drenched conference room, the truth finally tumbled out. It was a transaction pure and simple. My mother had brokered a deal. Bella for David. A merger to secure the family's social and financial standing. My father admitted he knew. Bella confessed she was pressured. David mumbled about cowardice. I listened to their confessions, their justifications, and felt nothing. No anger. No vindication. Just a vast, quiet emptiness. "You sold your own daughter," I said, the words not an accusation, but a simple statement of fact. Was it worth it? No one could answer. I stood, the city sprawling behind me, a testament to everything I had built without them. "I don't hate any of you anymore," I told them. "But don't expect me to forget. Some wounds aren't meant to fade. They're meant to remind you how far you've come." I walked out, leaving them in the ruins of their own making. Jack was waiting for me in the hall. He didn't say a word. He just smiled, a silent acknowledgement of the battle I had just won. The greatest revenge isn't making them regret what they did. It's living so fully, so brilliantly, that they have to watch from the shadows, forever wondering how the girl they left broken in the rain became the woman they can no longer reach. They thought they had taken everything from me, but they were wrong. They had only forced me to find what was mine all along.